This is the Product Analytics PMUX Weekly for April 5th. Jumping in, review sticky items. I don't see anything in sticky. I did want to mention we're getting ready for the 16.0 kickoff. So take a look at the 16.0 planning issue. We have a planning meeting later today. And if there's anything that, I don't think there's anything that we're planning on implementing that still needs design. I think there's some design work that we're going to have scheduled within the milestone. Cool. All right, so then looking back at last week's action items or discussion items, I wanted to confirm that we had the issue for instrumentation placement updated / result or updated and resolved for the next milestone. Yeah, I saw you had shared the design earlier this morning.
Yeah, I shared some like a flow and some quick updates on the instrumentation detail. How would you call this? Like steps, basically, like how to set up. Because while I was going through it, I thought that some things could be reordered to simplify a bit. So I just shared this with the team, and yeah, I've seen Yad and Rob has been giving me some feedback on this.
Awesome.
I pinged you on that as well, so feel free to have a look and let me know your thoughts. But yeah, I think overall we are pretty much set in terms of direction for this iteration.
Great.
There are things that we might want to add up to it later on, but I think for now it's all right to proceed with it.
Cool. Yeah, as long as it's fairly simple for users to go in, click those buttons, get the IDs that they need to put into their instrumentation, then we're good to go. That's what I'm walking through this morning, so that'll be helpful.
Cool.
Awesome. And that right now is scheduled for the design is happening. Yeah, design's happening now. And then is there an implementation issue, Ari?
Oh, I do not know about that. I was assuming that because we plan the design for this milestone, it would go into implementation into the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll confirm that with Dennis today of how they've been doing that.
Got it.
Do design. Hey, speaking of Dennis.
Hello?
Dennis, I said your name.
Hi.
And you joined the call. Perfect.
Yeah. I can leave if you need to finish what you're saying.
Well, I was going to say, I'm going to ask Dennis about how the team has done design issue, then implementation issue. So perfect timing. We're talking about
I wanted to
determine where to put instrumentation, which is probably why you're here.
Yeah, I think I wanted to just jump in to answer any questions there were about anything, and then clarify things like the dashboard designer and stuff like that. And I wasn't sure if, I wanted to make sure someone from engineering was here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Kevin had shared some design this morning in the 1511 issue. I'm going to share my screen so everybody can see it.
Sure.
And I'll pop it into the agenda too. Too many things at once. So this is the issue we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some proposed solutions about configure screen or making it be a button off of the dashboard or leaving it in the settings general, which is, I think, if I remember right, because we've talked about a couple of different screens, is where we ended up, Kevin.
Yep, correct.
Yeah. And so this will appear,
Yeah, this one is more the overall like flow and how you go from being in a dashboard you created to the settings where you can see the instrumentation details.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, that would work great.
Probably super tiny on Zoom. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, you could zoom with you go down at the very bottom of the here.
Let's do this too.
That's great. Yeah, thank you.
So I think in addition to this is the settings for the custom dashboard placement as well.
Sorry, one more time.
So in the general settings already, there's the dashboard customization as well.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's analytics dashboard, and the thing is with this settings, as far as I see, it's only a drop down. So I'm wondering if we could not bundle it with this product analytics section for now. And I think one of the things that I kind of highlighted is also, I think moving on in the future, if we want to keep adding sections,
Yeah.
we should probably have a dedicated page, like analytics page in the settings, to not kind of drop stuff into general.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense.
So for now, we already
Yeah.
have the analytics dashboard section here. So if we want to
Yes.
expand that to include.
Yeah. So I would,
stuff.
yeah, I did not add it on this design, my bad. But what
No
I'm
worries.
thinking is that it should be part of this specific section instead of recreating a section called
For sure.
analytics dashboard that only contains one dropdown.
Yeah, because this will be, we'll continually be adding more, and I'm not sure how this will fit into the strategy of like where we see like connecting clusters, but that would also make like at some point,
Yeah.
to your point, like the more we keep adding stuff, then it's going to make sense to have a dedicated page, and then we have instrumentation details, custom dashboard configuration repository, whatever we're going to call that. Bring your own cluster or cluster management or whatever that's going to be called, and then whatever else we add there. So like this seems like a pragmatic approach to add it where we already have related settings, and then we can break that out if we need to, which may actually just effectively be the configuration page. But settings is a great section for that to be in anyways.
Yeah.
As long as it's like all somewhere. And the last thing I want to like personally, I would what I want to see is like, where you have settings sometimes in the apps, but then you have to go to like, for iPhone, for example, like go to settings to configure some things, but then some of it is, anyways, I just don't want multiple places. And I think you voiced this Kevin, as well, to like have
Yeah.
two
That
pages,
makes sense.
3 pages for someone to configure something for the same feature.
Yeah.
So,
We already do that a little too much with like GitLab CI YAML, where you can configure things in settings, then you configure things within YAML, and
and I
Anyways,
appreciate the discourse as well, just because like we're talking about data sources and things like that, and it's important to think about the future, but like I just didn't want to like put stuff in different places and then we have to consolidate it again and people get confused of like, well, I used to configure custom dashboards here, but now where do I go?
Yep.
So yeah, I think that approach makes sense.
I'll add a comment on the design that we should include the custom dashboard stuff there as well, and then we can move forward. And then Dennis, historically, has the team, you haven't had a designer, but have you done design and then shifted over to implementation in the following milestone, generally with the same issue, or do you close the design issue, create a new implementation issue? Just want to work the way the team is used to working from a logistics standpoint.
Historically, we've done a little bit of, but it depends on how much work is involved on the design side. Like if there's a lot of discussions happening, there's a lot of things you need to get done. Like, we don't want to take an issue that's got 50, 80 plus comments and then be like, okay, and here's the engineering side where we're going to have that repeat again for the technical implementation. So it depends whether, I guess, the unit of work for Kevin is more of an investigation, or if it's just like improve, like fix, like it depends on the scope. Because if we're just adding an error state to a panel, for example, and we generally have patterns for that, and we can just fairly quickly prescribe like the approach for that, then we can just use the same issue. But it just depends how you'd want to track it. Historically, we've done both, which doesn't help answer your question. we can let's say this. We can move it to, like, we just usually pass it from design to planning breakdown for engineering assessment, unless it's a very large issue already. But if you want to really be able to identify like, here's what Kevin's worked on, or things like that, and like have that clean of like, I've done my job from design, and then like we can open up a new one, because we do that all the time when we like have a large technical issue and we have to break it up by back end or front end or infrastructure and things like that. So again, I guess it's scope based, but we can always default to handing things over until we feel differently about it. But I'm also open to changing that as well.
Like, the scope of this issue was determine where to put the details. I think we can close it out when the design is finalized, and then create an implementation issue to go do the thing now with the design.
Yeah, that's totally fine, because we throw the design in a new issue, and then we can have whatever conversations need to happen for into the technical implementation.
All right, I think we finally closed the loop on that. Yay. All right, moving on. Next steps on scorecard. I know a number of issues got created or were already created. I
Yeah.
think there's still some outstanding, either UX debt or UI polish stuff to do. Who's creating those? Just want to make sure that they don't slip through the crack. We have those issues out there, so we can.
Yeah,
fix them
no,
up
it's
when we want.
It's totally up to me. The thing is, I try to save some time per day to create issues, and because I don't want to spend a whole day creating issues, I'm just like doing it bit by bit. So hopefully I'll get this done by the end of the week. And we'll have all of the issues created, and then we can discuss about prioritization and everything.
Let's do the logistics stuff next. Jumping down to your first point, Kevin.
Yeah, that was a really quick one. It's just a reminder that I'm going on PTO next week, for 2 weeks. So it's half of the next milestone, and I just wanted to know if there was anything else, besides the instrumentation details issue that you wanted me to have a look at before I go. We had another issue that was about the edit modes and when you resize your panels, so kind of making this more obvious. Depending on how the design goes, instrumentation detail, I might be able to tackle this, but I don't know if I'll be able to finish it before I go. It doesn't seem chunky, but we never know.
I would prioritize an MVC on the edit mode, just to get it a little bit easier to grok for users when they're editing and when they're not, because that can be a confusing flow through those button steps.
Yep.
And just get it as far as we can. I think that we're going to end up iterating on what that looks like anyway. So
yeah,
a little bit better in our next iteration is going to be a good change, regardless.
Because right now the button just changes from like edit to done or cancel, right? So it's just a very subtle, like it's not clear at all, really.
Yeah.
So any improvement there would be appreciated.
There's a whole thing I think to review about the edit pattern and how we want people to be able to edit. But this is much bigger than this issue. So yeah. For later, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, you're out. So you're here for this meeting next week, so we can kind of wrap up and make sure we know what didn't get done. Because it looks like your PTO starts on Thursday. The week after that, you and I are both gone, so we've canceled the call for the 19th.
Yep.
And then I've left the call in place and as an async for you and I to check in, or for me to just kind of hang out and answer any questions for front end, if anybody has them, on the 26th.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Moving past logistics. Des, do you want to jump into your questions? Because my last one is kind of open-ended.
I mean, mine kind of, well, they kind of, they're not really. Yeah, sure. Just wanted to kind of, I've been trying to map everything out and I'm still in the progress of doing that. And I know you may have heard, and James, I've spoken about this, like kind of newer concepts like the dashboard designer, and we have a lot of X, Y, and Z designers. And so I just wanted to help try to clarify things until I have the documentation to kind of really kind of display it for everyone. If there were any questions around like any parts of what we're building so far that you know about that, or that you've heard of that maybe you aren't as like aware of, or if there's anything I can clarify in terms of concepts, because that's like for the dashboard designer, for example, like last week I sat down with Tim and to really kind of help define that, because it's very blurry in terms of, well, one, the dashboard designer is a fairly new concept and it's just around, I mean, in terms of calling it that, but it's around existing functionality in terms of supporting custom dashboards and adding existing visualizations, but we really haven't referred to it as like often as that. And so I just wanted to see if there was any confusion or anything that like, or at least as you were ramping up, that I can try to address in this documentation. If that makes sense. And that's to either of you.
So what we call dashboard designer is the ability for you to create a custom dashboard.
Yeah.
and what
And
we call, yeah,
sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
No,
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 I was
finish
gonna
your thought.
say, okay. And then visualization design, I mean, that's my other thing. And then visualization designer is then how you would create a custom chart.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. So basically, in
Okay.
terms of the workflow, like you set up your product analytics as a customer, you get pre-built dashboards, but you see a button called Add Dashboard. That brings you into the dashboard designer workflow. However, that workflow will ultimately end up working, we can definitely decide. That's just kind of how it's been explained in issues for now.
Mhm.
Being able to name that and then see existing visualizations and then being able to add those to the dashboard is the extent of, and saving that dashboard is the extent of what that dashboard designer does, that what that workflow does. Anytime you would want to create or visualize new data, that would actually bring you into the visualization designer. So it's progressive in the sense of like how the user would kind of explore and start customizing their needs for it. But like a lot of the stuff didn't have a name or it was called the visualization designer in the past. And so I just wanted to make sure there was
Okay.
a clear line of like, and this is what I was doing for my front end engineers as well to understand where it's like, yeah, we will build the dashboard designer where you can move existing visualizations around, make them bigger, move them around, reorder them, that kind of stuff. But as soon as you need to go into like add visualization, for example, that is not part of the dashboard designer. That is a separate workflow, which then hands
Yeah.
over to the visualization designer, which of course there can be integrations where once you create the visualization, it can come back and add it to that dashboard you were working on. But that's a whole separate, like that's now integrating two different workflows. But yeah, hopefully that reaffirms your understanding.
Yep. Cool.
Because I know we'll need to give a lot of love to the design at some point when we work it, but I just wanted to explain fundamentally what the functionality is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because there was,
That's fine.
from my end at least, a little bit of lack of clarity a couple weeks back. So
Yes, do you feel like we have all the issues created to get that flow into a good state for customers as part of our alpha during our alpha milestone?
working on that right now because we kind of reused an existing epic, and I know Tim's created a bunch, and so I'm kind of like auditing that to make sure that we're not missing anything because I get the sense that we have a few issues that aren't in that customer facing releases thing that I really want to like help clarify. So that's what I've been focused on last week and this week. I don't know that I'll have it for pre-planning, but between now and final planning, I should. But yeah.
Awesome. That we can iterate through starting with the custom dashboards
Yeah.
and YAML as the interface for creating a new dashboard for
Mhm.
those first customers.
Yeah.
We kind of set expectations that we're going to be changing a lot. It's
Yeah.
possibly going to break as we release new functionality.
Yeah.
But we are here for kind of a support effort, and me
Mhm.
being me. And then we're going to continue to roll out new things based on the feedback that we get. So there's already
Yeah.
that expectation. It's not going to be perfect when we launch.
Yeah,
So I feel like
for
we're in a
sure.
good spot with that kind of iterative approach.
Mhm.
Cool. All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
My last point was just checking because I've been really behind on a lot of stuff. So if there's anything specifically from me, I guess I jumped in at the right time for the one question for me. But yeah, I'm working on documentation and charting things out and having a single source of truth, as I mentioned in previous group syncs. But I just also wanted to see if there were any questions to myself or engineering that I can help answer or take a look at least. And if not, it's, I guess, consider this a call of if there's a ping that you've pinged me on and I haven't responded in a couple of days, just please Slack me. That's kind of the state of things right now because I'm sometimes I get stuck in the infrastructure stuff and I don't get to my to-dos. But yeah, trying to make myself available otherwise.
All good. I will let you know, we talked to a potential customer yesterday. I won't name them, so this can stay a public call. And initially their feedback was we would have to have this, have our own cluster for this because it would be customer data. As
Okay.
we got further into the call though, because it was part of their normal cadence call,
Yeah.
they were showing us an internal dashboard
Okay.
that they're less likely to need to roll their own cluster for because it would
Okay.
be their developer team. Because
Okay.
it looked at things like runner status, and it was kind of pseudo visual analytics kind of, or not visual analytics, Dora dashboard
Okay.
kind of thing for all their projects.
Yeah.
So they seemed on board with instrumenting that.
Nice. Okay.
So we are hearing, yeah, bring your own cluster is going to be important already,
Yeah.
but we're looking at it can still be down the line for
Got
these
it.
internal tools type of teams.
Got it. Great. Sounds good. Yeah, been seeing a couple of those issues to ramp up potential customers, so it's exciting.
Yeah, super excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Shoot,
we're behind on any pings other than just helping get docs updated. I know Max
Yeah.
mentioned that again this morning. There was another feature flag that we were missing. And if you
Yeah,
need
Matt,
help
yeah.
there, like
Yeah.
I can start MRs that rip things apart just so somebody can go and fix it.
Well, well, I don't know which feature flag that is, but we were trying to consolidate a lot, and then we needed to pull one out because it prevents us from managing things like GitLab.com. And then there's actually going to be one more to make it even better for the whole snowplow switchover thing. And so I'm having the engineers document that in GDK so at least engineering is on the same page, but I want to bring that out so that we're all aware of that as well. But yeah, I've been going, like yesterday was all fixing developer documentation to make sure that we're able to run even the new snowplow stuff like consistently across the engineering team, and then bring that out in terms of like what does that actually mean for how we use it. But yeah, I guess it's a good timing with the season where there's a lot of spring cleaning to be done with our documentation and our code actually, because there's going to be a lot of Jitsi stuff that we're ripping out. But yeah, should we get to your topic? I took enough time, I think.
Oh, good. Mine is more of a kind of an open-ended as we start to get customers and external customers, starting to think as kind of this trio, actually, that weekly active user, what kind of things do we want to experiment with and play with? So a lot of the stuff in the milestones is really around making sure that the stack is operational, that it's reliable, that we have runbooks, like all of that kind of thing. But we also want to start thinking about what are the features or the tweaks and the stuff that we want to make that derive additional weekly active users beyond just we've onboarded another team.
Yeah.
We want to see those existing teams continue to ramp up and share product analytics and get more of their user base looking at it, because that's what's really going to make this product category successful.
For sure.
So it was, like I said, more of an open-ended. We don't have to come up with a list today or like this is the next experiment we want to run, but I'd love for us to use product analytics to run experiments and figure out
I have ideas.
How can we drive more users, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of actually funnels that I would love to build out. And I think, kind of what we're talking about too. So of course we want to see how many people get into the product analytics dashboards, which ones they're looking at. So how between audience and behavior, like how often are they going there, especially week over week. Particularly too, seeing how we can, as we make the functionality available, as we introduce like adding custom dashboards and visualization designer, and how many people are adding a custom dashboard repository, for example, to like actually consolidate that for their group or their organization. And then how they're entering things like, as we make it available, of course, like the dashboard designer, adding existing visualizations, and eventually the visualization designer itself. But I think something that's really interesting too is that we can dogfood a lot of that with funnel analysis that we're building. But at the same time, take a look at like, have they instrumented their application? And we can do that fairly easily. Like if they received an event, then they've configured it. But also see what's the retention rate week over week in relation to how many events we're receiving from that. Because one thing that'll be, I think, important is like how many people just set it up and then like forget about it and they never check the dashboard again.
Yeah.
Because that'll also be important from like an operational standpoint where it's like, okay, we're collecting all these events, but you're not doing anything with it. Like what's wrong? And also like, are you still interested in that kind of stuff? So those are just some to start.
Yeah, I think this is where like we're gonna have to be careful about defining what is an active user for product analytics, because as you pointed out, I think once you're set up with your dashboard, well, you're not gonna create another event, or I mean, once you have enough dashboards, it's more about you returning to it or maybe sharing it or maybe something like that we would kind of need to uncover along the way. So maybe research could help, maybe us instrumenting the tool itself would help as well, I think.
For sure. Yeah, any action really would be interesting to know, especially like how inclined are they to like edit dashboards and stuff like that, existing ones, or I mean, I don't think we've really entered that flow of like you see a pre-built dashboard, but can you duplicate that and then customize that? And like, would people do that as a first step to like understanding how custom dashboards work?
Mhm.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
my purposes, just the active user is you've looked at a dashboard or edited a dashboard.
Yeah.
That's going to be at least my working definition through the alpha and beta phases, because that shows us, and then looking at recurring, that kind of shows it's sticky. But if we create a way for people to share, or if it's just straight, here's the URL, go look at it, great. Like that's going to be valuable, I think. So.
Yeah, and we can expand that to like, I mean, we can workshop it all day, but we don't have that much time anymore. But you know, once we like start like linking through to pages, so sort of example, like we're talking about like what are your most popular pages for audience, for example, and being able to click through that, then we can at least have some insight into like, okay, they saw something from the dashboard and decided to take action on that, to like help drive like how long they're staying, or how long they're actually, or how much they're using the feature rather. So
cool.
But it'd be really good to instrument that with service ping and also with our own instrumentation to see like, you know, where our gaps exist with you know, our typical sizes dashboards for snowplow. But
wrangling all of the instrumentation issues is one of my to-dos for today.
Yeah, there's a lot of this. Kind of discovering them as we go along.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I think
Awesome.
that's everything. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good to see y'all.
See you.
Cheers.